your main categories. There are so many ideas out there. The reason why they most likely have not been done or been built on or to solve them is because the commercial feasibility is next to nothing. Now, that's not to say that it's not an avenue for you to have what you call a blue ocean, like a new area to chart your territory. But the reason why you have any idea that you see people sponsoring or jumping into is most likely because the commercial feasibility is zero. Very closely related with that is also an area that people know nothing about because the risk is very high. So basically, you're categorizing them in two broad areas, but even in the second area, there's still that element of the unknown, and that's why you might not have people jump into it. So just back to your question, how do you know what problem to solve? You need to think about the financials. Is this something I can sell? If it's a product or service, would I, if I'm one of the personas you're solving for, would I pay for this product or service? Once you're able to answer those questions, then you're most likely on your way to actually solving that problem and actually getting value, money, service, support for that. I hope I was able to answer that.
Okay, thank you for that wonderful piece. So Kingsley, would like to ask, what techniques do you use to understand and empathize with users' needs?
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, we can hear you. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So you're talking about technique, Shabi?
Yes, techniques you use to understand and also empathize with user needs.
Okay, so first you need to understand what are the user's needs, right? You need to understand what the user needs are, and you need to be able to identify it before you empathize. You don't empathize when you don't understand their needs, right? So there should be first an understanding, then before adopting the techniques. Now the techniques could be understanding your user persona, right? You need to come up with a persona. At least have a fictional user in your mind and trying to solve the needs of that user. Then you also need empathy mapping. Hope most of us know what empathy mapping is. You need to know what the user feel, think, say, do, right? So these things will actually guide you. Now I want to let me use an example. I want to make use of which app is coming for us here. Mm, Okay, I want to make use of my Uber app to order a ride, right? So I try to order a ride and I was not seeing my location there, and the app. Okay, after checking, struggling, I finally found my location. I tried to click on it for responding, and it's not taking me anywhere. So I just stuck, and I was ready to where I was going to. I get pissed off. Then I tried to download um, Bolt, and I was able to figure it out using Bolt because of to me it's seamless, right? So for the other user who make use of both and had issues, you need to be able to understand. You already know that okay, that's a problem with the app, which is not quite functional, and probably the designs are not seamless for him to move from point A to B. So first, you already know what the user is saying. and you already know what it's thinking, and you already know what it feels, and you know the next line of actions to do. So the first one is it feels bad, right? That the app is not giving him exactly what he wants. Then the second one, he thinks that the app is is not user friendly and some buttons are not clicking. Then it feels devastated, it feels disappointed because he was unable to book a ride that would take him to um, his office or meeting at that particular time. So his time was wasted. The next thing is do. He had to opt for an app and make use of it, right? And was able to do his thing and move, quickly as much as possible. So when you understand all these techniques, all these concepts, you are able to define first the problem, you're able to understand the problem, and you're able to adopt these techniques to solve them. Right. So I think it cuts across product managers too. They also make use of personal and party mapping and user starting point and all of that to draw a conclusion on how to solve um, needs. That's it.
Thank you very much. I hope you are noting these things down. So my next question will be directed to you, Tayo. So my question is, can you share an example with us of when you when user research led you to change a project's direction?
Okay. There was one particular project for a government parastatal. It was a data project. Based on the contract and the terms, it was basically to help build a data system, data collection, data cleanup, and then visualization. It was just that, right? When we got in there, we realized that there was a fundamental, I wouldn't say hatred for technology, but it's just that know-how, like technology could help. I mean, you would agree with me that most of our government agencies today believe that the only way they can capture your information is to have a file on you. So if I walk into maybe Ministry of Lands and I need to probably do an inquiry, the best thing is for them to open a file for me, put my name on there, and then give me a file number, right? So that was the issue we found. So we creating a data system was just going to be for the fun of it. Nobody was going to use it because they will still believe in doing things on paper. At best, the best of them are just Excel, right? So what we did, not so much of a detour, but what we did was to first of all, yeah, it was a detour. It wasn't like a change in direction. It was to first of all go help them understand the value in on using technology, using tools basically, rather than depending on paper and one person's Excel knowledge, right? So that excuse me, so that's based on understanding or visualizing what the customer is, their level of um, adoption of technology. Another one, which is way back, no more recent, would be um, there was a time pre-COVID we were building a platform. Then Shotlet wasn't as popular as you have it right now in Nigeria. Back then was just a few people. So the goal then was to build a platform to allow those in the diaspora to make their bookings, right? And what we realized from data was we were getting sales, we were getting money from Nigeria. So what we now did when COVID happened was to forget about those who were coming from outside Nigeria and focus on building a platform or solution that took bookings from Nigerians in Nigeria. So both sides or both times, it was based on what I'll call data. The first one being data based on customers' readiness to adopt the technology. The second one based on raw data, looking at our booking records, looking at uh, transaction records to see, hey, there's a market in Nigeria. So those are two instances that I can share where there's been like a detour or a redirection and it's been based on data. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So I'll be asking you this, Kingsley. How do you set effective goals for a project you're working on? Sorry, did you get my question?
Please take that again. I didn't hear you.
My question was, how do you set effective goals for a project you're working on?
Okay. Setting an effective goal for a project. Um, I think your first question still align with this, right? So, setting an effective goal. First, you need to map out project timeline, especially if you're working for an organization or probably you are freelancing. There's usually a timeline for every project. Even if there's no timeline, if you are going to be one spearheading that project, you're taking a lead, so you should first of all map out the time, the duration. First, you give yourself the short-term goals and the long-term goals. Now, what are the short-term goals? Short-term goals are from, let's say, week one, I want to be able to carry out research, send out questionnaires to people to fill for me so I can have a proper understanding of the product I'm building. Then, if you have other team members in your group, you need to be able to define that product to them. Let them understand it with one. Let them understand exactly what you guys are doing. Then you roll out your questionnaire. Then you say, okay, with two, this is what I'm going to do. With three, we are sure of the data we have. Then a normal project life cycle, if you're building a product, let's say you're building a product, right, and you are part of the designer or probably the lead, you need to be looking at, depending on the product, but the, the, the minimum months you could look out for should be, let's say, between 3 to 5 months. Then if it's like a very lengthy product, then you should be looking at a year because most times there are some products, especially products, usually take longer time to. But if it's just for the aspect, let's say for the product designers, you should be looking at between um, 1 to 3 months, right? If you are building a product right from scratch. So by the time you put yourself, by the time you set those time goals for yourself, you are able to take things one after the other. Now, mind you, if you're working for an organization, there are some unexpected project that will just fall on your desk. They ask you to work on it. Now, not because those products are new, right? They can obviously tell you to start building a product and expect you to complete that product in 3 weeks. I don't think it works that way, depending on the product. So if it's a product, like I said, it's our product, they want to give an effective product at the long run. So every client expecting such a product should be able to have it. This product will take a longer time. So ability to define the time, ability to understand the product you're working on, then ability to understand the research you're getting from people, then ability to test the product, right? Test the product to see if the product is functional, then ability to launch the product with your first user. I think um, pilot, they call it what you call it, pilot launch or something like that. So by the time you finish all of those stuff, then you have to go and your product is out for the market. How can we just can you all hear me?
Sorry, we can't hear you properly.
Where where did you
Like about a minute ago, probably from my end, but I don't know if that is the
hello?
same for everyone. Yeah, I can hear you now. Better now.
Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now. Thank you.
Okay, where will I start from now? Because I think I've been talking ever since. At what point did you
Okay,
not hear me?
okay, I heard the points where you said we have to set goals for whether it's short term or long term. And from that
Wow,
point onwards, I didn't get you precisely my own
wow,
end.
wow. How about every other person, please? If you are not unable to hear me, can you raise your hand up or thumbs up?
I couldn't hear you.
Wow. Okay. Maybe I will just have to take that again. I said first thing is to set a short term and a long term goals. Now break those goals into time. First, you need to understand how long would this product last and what kind of product am I working on. So by the time you're able to understand the product you're working on and you're able to define the product, you should be able to know that, okay, from this time to this time, this product will get to a finished stage. Now I use the example of a SaaS product. If you are building a SaaS product, you should know that most times SaaS products usually take time, right? Because of something that is reoccurring, right? So you need to take time to put your codes right, your designs right, understand the intuitiveness of that product, right? So let's say I'm working on a product and the product is SaaS. If it's SaaS, then I should be looking at between 7 months, 6 months, depending, right, on how big the product is to a year, right? Then if it's a mini or simple website, then you should be looking at you know maximum depending on how fast or the people you have in your team. You should be looking at let's say months, right? 2 months, especially if it's an e-commerce website, then you're looking at 2 to 3 months because a whole lot will be going into it. But if it's just a design aspect of it, then probably it might be lesser than that, depending on the agility of people in your team. So first, you need to define the time. You need to set a time goal for yourself because if you don't set a time goal, you end up elongating the product. So let's say I'm a freelancer or I'm working with an organization. Obviously, an organization will give you a time bound, to work with. But if you are a freelancer and you haven't gotten a job yet, you should be able to define your time and so relate that to your plan that this product will take from this so time to this so time, right? Because if you are handing over a complete product with functionality to your clients, you are not the only one working on that product. So you need to first of all ask from other team members, especially the front end and the back end guys. I'm just being very real now, especially I'm being real because I've worked on products, so I know how difficult it can be in setting goals, especially if you are working with cross-functional. So you need to get those back from your front end engineers and your back end. How long do you think can code this from me, or when can you deliver? Let them give you a realistic time, and let's say they say okay, let's just assume they give you 2 weeks or 1 month to be able to hand over their code to you. you or hand over the product to you, then when you're getting back to your client, you should be able to add at least one word extra because there might be some lapses in between and use it to cover up. So setting those goals will, help you short term and also help you navigate the long term goals. So the other one is I said you define the product, understand the product, set a time frame for yourself, right, on the product. Then I think, yeah, so for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. So, I'm joining into the house. Does anybody have any questions to ask so far? You could just raise your hand. So nobody has a question so far. Anything they want to ask, anything they don't understand so far, they've said. All right then. Anyways, moving on. So, my next question will be directed to you, Dayo. So what success metrics or key performance indicators do you track when working on a project, and why are they important?
All right, thanks. So it depends on the project. It depends on the scale of the project. If I'm building an application that is B2C, where my end users are like the direct consumers, then I probably want to be tracking metrics around acquisition, around churn, how many customers are leaving per time. I want to track metrics around revenue. I want to track metrics around upsell if I'm working on B2C. If I'm working on a B2B product that is SaaS-based, that is, I have access to monitor and track how things are going, then I probably want to track how many. So for example, if I'm building a product for a bank and it has to do with a system that helps with just generic, maybe account opening, for example, I probably want to track how many accounts we are opening, how many flows were not completed, how many times there were issues. I probably want to put in some stat scores and all of those things on there to say, if you want to give me thumbs up that the application is good or there are downtimes, right? Then outside of functionality, I also want to track how many times maybe my services are going down. I want to track maybe the hardware as well, if that's part of my project scope. So all in all, it depends on what you're looking at, but mostly if you're building a B2C, you want to track what you call the AAR metrics, where acquisition, revenue, return customers are key for you. But if you're running a B2B, your KPIs are pretty much the different dimensions. Individuals are not your focus, it's our organization and the people in the organization that are using your product. I hope I was able to answer that for you. Hello?
Thank you for that. So Kings, can we have your take on that? What success metrics or key performance indicators do you track when you're working on a project, and why are they important?
Well, I think that question is best answered by Tayo because that is field. He's a product manager, right? So I might not really have that decisive response to that based on my field. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so moving on. Can you give it? This question will be directed to Dayo. Can you give an example of a project where metrics helped you make critical decisions?
Well, sure. Literally every project or product should guide your decision. There's this saying that stuff with me pre-COVID. In God we trust, but everybody must bring data, right? You can't just say I feel like you must show evidence, you must show working. Why do we need to do this functionality? Why do we need to add this? Why do we need to remove? It has to be data back, right? So every single time you are doing something or you're building something, even the project you start with that you want to do, it was based on data. It was based on business needs that was validated, right? Has now been presented to you or your company or your team as a project to be worked on. So fundamentally, every single thing has to be related.
Let's just move on before it gets back. So Kingsley, I'll be asking you this. What are some of the first steps you take when you plan a project?
Yeah, so I think this question is there's no there's no decisive like there's no one way fits all, right? All depending on the individual and how it sits well for you or how you're able to achieve your your project. But for me, I think the first step I take, especially coming from the product design perspective, is when when the idea or the product you want to work on is being thrown at you. So the first thing is to do a quick research. When I mean research, I'm not talking about an intensive one. Just look at the other products. If this product has been worked on before, you need to check it out. Then once you see similar product, then you need to see how they were able to do that. Then look at the interface of that product because for every product, there is always this similarity. Just like when you go to a website, when you see a search bar um, icon, you know that this is represents search. Then when you see a button, you know that okay, this button means click. When you see, let me even use Zoom as an example. For those who are using mobile Zoom now, when you check the upside of your Zoom, you see a headset, you know that okay, this is headset is it there. But when you see a red button, you know that this is a button. So you already know that okay, these are similarities of this product. So when you understand the principles, design principles, when you understand common regions, similarities, Miller's laws, and all of those things, so you're able to track, you're able to know that okay, these are the things that I need to build a product. Now, if you want to work on an e-commerce product, there is this similarity, there is this feel you have when you're building or when you're making use of an e-commerce product. It's different from when you're going to a random site. So they usually have this look and feel. So first is for you to understand the interface. And the second one is for you to screenshot them if possible. Screenshot them, have them on your phone or your laptop so that you can always look at them when you're embarking on your own design. And the next step is to sketch. You need to sketch them out. You need to be able to have a user flow for it. Design a user flow. Just go to your picture, have a user flow from point A to Z. If I'm coming to this product, what am I? What's the expecting? So first, you need to be the user itself to be able to understand your product. Put yourself in the shoes of the user. If I come to this product, what am I expecting to click? at what point am I making order, or at what point am I making payment. So by the time you have your user flow, um, after you've drafted your persona, don't forget that you need to put all those things in place. Then you have your user flow. Then you have your architecture, right? Then make sure your architectures are properly highlighted, right? Are properly drafted. Then you translate that into designs. Now, the reason why you are going through all this route is because you cannot just pick a product and immediately you're on high fidelity, especially if it's a product you're working from scratch. You need to go through all these phases because it will make the product, the project simple, or it's simple for you to be able to navigate, especially if you are working with team of we are working with stakeholders and CEOs then, and they want to see what you have done so far. So if you have the user flow, you can walk them through those diagrams, right? Walk them through the diagram. Say, okay, this is where we have a break or a break point in the app and all of that. So if you understand the architecture, then after that you translate that into wireframes. Have a simple wireframe you can also show them before you move to your high fidelity, because you wouldn't want to spend so much time trying to design a high fidelity design. At the end of the day, the navigation is bad and nobody's understanding your product. So when you have a wireframe, it gives you less time to work on them. Then you move to your high fidelity. Then after that, you try to do a prototype of your product. At least let them have a feel, a functionality of it, even if it's not that real. Then you translate that into code if you are a front end and back end engineer. So that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. So Dayo, before we lost you on the last thing, we were asking you about examples of projects where metrics helped you make critical decisions.
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm so sorry. For some
Yeah, we
reason, I got thrown out. So the question, just to remember, was examples where metrics had guided, right? And sort of
yes, they
redirected.
help you make good decisions on the projects you're working on.
Yeah, so I was saying that data is fundamental. By data, I mean critical things about that product, that service, that platform that you built. The beautiful thing is product management isn't exactly like project management in that the project has a start and end date. Come and build a booking platform for us. It's a project, right? Because you most likely hand it off to the actual users of the company that would manage, or the set of individuals that would manage, right? The product in itself is, as long as you start building that product, you eventually retire that product. You're all around that life cycle, right? So every point in time, whether it's a new product you're about to launch into the market, it's a product you've launched and you're looking to scale, it's a product that you scaled and it's as if it's saturated, there's nothing new anymore. You want to pivot it to an extension, or you've tried, there's new technology now, we want to retire this product. Every step of the way, having your right metrics defined literally direct you for you. I'm going to give you a relatable example. Um, those guys that have gone unicorn status now, money coin, right? When they started, it wasn't necessarily to be the kind of system they have right now that does has a microfinance bank status, able to run cards, allow you have business accounts, right? Their goal, their niche, their unique selling proposition was to be able to do a transaction fast, fast, no failure. And then they scale, right? They saw that they had the acquisition, they saw that they had the numbers, they saw they had the figures. Now they've grown, right? If they were not keeping track of what metrics were important to them in terms of acquisition, in terms of retailing, in terms of transactions or processing, you won't have that status today. So basically, every step of the way defines how you would proceed with your product, you will progress with your product. To give you a personal example that I've worked with, uh, okay, so there was this particular application that it's for commercial banks. It's sort of a resource management tool, a cash management tool. Originally, it was just supposed to just be back, right? But based on the feedback, based on data that we got, we realized that there were potentials. So what did we do? We went back and to create another module, another functionality within the application. Right now, it's even the preferred of the other ones. So every step of the way, having your right metrics. For us on that product, it was usability and getting periodic feedback from the customer. Those were the metrics we were tracking. Don't get anything less than 65% feedback in terms of positive feedback. And when we saw that that was the feedback we were getting, we went to go build, and now we're making money off that model. So basically, every step of the way, every time, ensure that there are metrics that you're looking at. Some people call them North Star, like your direction. This is the way I'm going, this is the direction. As long as I'm getting there, as long as I'm getting feedback, I know if I'm getting there or I need to do something else to get better. I hope I was able to answer that.
Yes, thank you very much for that. So, on to my next questions to still be directed to you, Tayo. So my questions is, could you share an experience where some agile practices helped your product succeed, or should I say your project succeed?
Hi. Is there not a time? Um, so I'll give a disclaimer. Everybody that I've met, everybody that I've related with, always claim to know and understand what agile is. From my experience, no, we have separate understanding. We have separate view of what agile should be. I've worked with clients that their understanding of agile is you need to be able to attend to them every 30 minutes. I've worked with some other people that their own understanding of agile is please don't come and disturb us. We are busy. Come back in 2 weeks time. Right? So everyone has their understanding of what agile is. But fundamental, the idea behind agile is collaboration. Is basically being able to collaborate with each other and ensure that what you are going to finally release is not a shortcut to the person you're giving it to. It's basically that you need to build a house. It's not at the end when you've got to go and build two-story building that you now show the owner see your house. No, from the moment we are designing what the structure should look like, to the moment we start the foundation, to the moment we pile up the blocks, to the moment we do deckings, if it's a multi-story building, the owner is aware. The owner is providing input. To the moment we start finishing the interior, the owner is aware. Basically, agile, communication, collaboration. So to answer your question, every time, every single time, agile has helped. In that I'm not in my mind building the best product that has ever existed, and then the client is coming to me after 4 months to say, what rubbish is this?" That can kill your career, kill you instantly if you get such feedback, right? So agile for me is the way, especially because it encourages collaboration, open communication, transparency. Both sides of the divide, we understand what's going on, we understand where we are, we understand where we still need to get to. So to answer your question, it's either agile for me or agile for me. There are no other alternatives.
Thank you. So I'll be directing a question to as well to Kingsley. How do you balance creativity with functionality in your design work?
Yeah, so we have 13 minutes. So how do you balance creativity with functionality? First, you need to first of all um
Sorry, Kingsley. Please, we are not hearing you properly. I don't know if it's from my end, but your voice is a little
okay.
bit low.
Is it better now? Are you good?
Yes, yes,
Can you hear me?
thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so how do you balance these two, creativity and functionality? Now, you first of all need to um, understand that for every product you're building, the end point of it is to be functional. If your creativity is beyond imagination and so wild and yet not functional, then you are not building a product, which means that you're just building a flyer. Now you need to understand that's why most designers usually make that mistake. Now I say aesthetics is good, but at the point where aesthetic is blocking the functionality of the product, then the product does not exist because nobody can use it. It's just beautiful, but you can't use it. So balancing your creativity, you need to know that first, the product you are building is not a banner. You are not going to print it and go and keep in your house. People are using it, and users are using it. Most times you don't even know them, and most times some of these users don't understand English. You understand? So just take for example a product like Facebook. They are trying to match creativity with functionality, and most people who make use of user of Facebook, most times they don't really know um they don't even understand tech as much as every other person do, but they just want to be on Facebook. That's why you see a booking. Sorry, maybe another person. I'm so sorry. That's why you see some people, rather, you see some people, far outside the village are on Facebook. They are on just to post pictures and just want to receive likes, right? This is not specifically to a particular region, could be any region, but they just want to post pictures. They just want to feel among, especially when they have small Android phone. So balancing their creativity and at the same time boosting it with functionality is great because if they want to say, okay, I just want to be creative, I want to do this massive app, this crazy app, this aesthetic pleasing app, then you might end up losing people like that because first, their target audience is to cut across every nook and cranny of society. People should be able to relate with their loved ones, right? I think that was their goal. You can commune with your friend. That's why I call it Facebook, just like WhatsApp. So if your creativity is not matching with your vision, then there is a problem with that product. Because at the end of the day, the functionality will not correlate with what you have. So I would say for every product designers, I don't know if they are here, try and calm down. I know that it's good to be very creative and all, but don't go too well to the point that you're having issues with front end or back end and you're expecting them to be as creative as you. You need to also understand them because if they tell you that this thing is not possible to code, trust me, they know what they're saying. Even if it's possible, they're just trying to tell you that it's going to take so much lines of codes, and at the end of the day, when they launch that product, it's going to take a whole lot to be able to push this to millions of people. See, they're already foreseeing it. So that's why if you are a product designer, you need to have a basic understanding of HTML and CSS and all of those things so that you know how things work. You will not just go and design an app that looks like a banner or flyer and you expect somebody to be coding it. Do you understand? So creativity differs depending on where you find yourself. If you find yourself in a place where you are going to be working with cross-functional teams like back end, front end, then you need to know how to fine tune it to match with the functionality of the app. Then if you're working for a media company, maybe they ask you to design a flyer and all that, then you can go wild, you can go crazy, you can do whatever you want to do because you know at least that they don't really have there is no how will I put it there's no a specific way it should be creative, right? Because the level of your creativity will even keep you in your work because they want somebody who is creative. When it has to do with products like this, digital products like an app, a website, product like this, then you need to understand that functionality is to matters at the end of the day because at the end goal of every product is to be able to onboard users, and also make profit out of it. So if your creativity is not making profit, is not bringing the onboarding rate from 10% to 70%, then you are not a great designer. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now to the audience, does anybody have any question concerning what they've heard so far, or any questions you have in mind, particularly that you want to ask our mentors? Just raise your hand. So does anybody have any questions they want to ask? Okay, Chidera, we can have you.
Good evening.
Hello,
Hi,
we
good
can have you.
evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, okay. My question is to Mr. Kingsley. He spoke about agile, and also he spoke about things to consider before you start a project. So my question now is, okay, applying the agile principle the way he stated it, does it mean that I don't have to have everything figured out before I start a project? Since agile, as he said, require always communicating with the product owner or the owner of the product. That is my question. So I can just start and continuous should I say continuous communication will I will get everything figured out. That's just my question.
Yeah, are you directing the question to me? Yeah, well, I have at least. Can you all hear me, please? I have some knowledge about agile, and well, you don't wait till you figure out everything before you start a project. Like I said, if you're working for an organization and they just come through a documentation to you on your table and say, okay, we'll start working on it as a designer. You will not tell your guy, please, will give me 2 weeks to think about it. Immediately you start working on it because you're a professional in that field. So they expect that whatever they give you, you should be able to translate it into active measures, right? So you waiting to figure out everything might cause a whole delay. So that's why we have agile. So the basic things you just need to do is to understand principles that guide every project or every product. If you're a product designer, understand those principles. Understand what you need to do, like your first stage, which I already told you mine, is to do a research on the product, understand if there are similar products like that, then carry out a little research, do sketching, after sketching, translate the sketching into wireframe to high fidelity and all of that. So by the time you follow those measures, it will be difficult for you to handle a product, right? And it will be difficult for you to communicate. Now, if you are adopting an agile method and you're working with other cross-functional teams, the essence of agile, which Daya said, is communication. Don't be this silent doer. You are just there, you are doing your thing. Nobody's hearing from you. You are not communicating. You are not pushing anything on your repo. Nobody is seeing anything on your GitHub. And they are requesting alpha, your code, what's going on? You are not even telling them, oh, okay, oh, maybe today oh, my laptop was bad. I didn't have light to charge. Let them know. That's another way of communicating. Let them know that, okay, this was what I was able to do from point A to B. I'm in C. I'll be able to push the ones I have done. So when you communicate all that to your team members, they already know that, okay, this is the level where we are, because it's going to actually help the product manager to give a feedback when it's reviewing. So the issues we usually have, I would have loved to cite an example, but time, we have limit. There's this guy then, we're working on a project. You will not tell anybody anything. Alpha guy, what's going on? You're not seeing your code, you're not pushing anything. Design has been done, right? But this guy is not doing, he's not seeing anything. At the end of the day, he said, they work on them, no one, I go sit down. At the end of the day, what? We find out that this guy was not doing anything, and because he was not used to agile, and he didn't communicate anything to anybody. If he had done that, probably somebody would have taken responsibility of that and immediately cover up for him. Because he was not communicating, it becomes a problem, right? So at the end of the day, we have to push the ball to another
Kingsley,
person
you'd
to
like you
work
to
on.
round up
So
before the meeting ends. So you just round
yeah,
up.
so that's just it. So agile will help you does not mean that you should throw away basics, principles, agile you. So that's all I have to say. I think Blessing was raising her hands up. We have 2 minutes. So I don't know if this will accommodate everyone.
Okay,
Thank you.
Blessing, can we have it quickly?
Okay, thank you.